Nation SI, the two Gonzaga former players, Adam Morrison, Dan Dickau here to break things down. Both what we just saw against Pepperdine, second episode later today. We'll be recording, touch a little bit on BYU and Santa Clara, which is the upcoming week of games. But Mo, that first minute 51 where they jumped out 10-0, that might have been the greatest stretch I've seen from Gonzaga this year. Would you agree, or what did you see?
Yeah, I thought the pace was good. I thought I was a little bit concerned, naturally coming off of a long break with the COVID pause. So I was interested to see, if rust or conditioning, per se, like game conditioning, obviously they've been working out, would be a factor. And it wasn't. It was just, fast break, good shot after good shot. So I was really impressed with how they, kind of took it to Pepperdine early and kind of take away, belief for a team like that.
Yeah, 117-83. I mean, and I think the first 6 minutes they had 25 points. And if you and this is the fan in anybody, whoa, they're going to score 180 points.
Yeah.
What was it like for you and Huddy when you were calling the game on radio? As far as hey, we're looking at a 60-point game here.
Yeah, we were trying to be we hope it doesn't become that type of game. Obviously you want us to be sharp offensively. So, I was always thinking, well, maybe they get to 120. It was about, because usually it tops off a little bit and slows down, but I was happy just to see the pace and the fluidity, to be honest, not just because they scored, but I'm talking about coming off a break. Offensively, that's our main focus every single year with Gonzaga. Obviously defensively numbers are decent in the top half of the country, right? In the important factors, but offensively is where we make our hay. And so when we had that break, I was kind of worried, okay, how's this going to work out for this group who was still young, getting used to each other and trending up offensively. So I was happy to see, like you said, the first 6 minutes, 25 points, rolling, taking good shots, ball pinging. So it looked like they were back to where, what they were before the pause.
Yeah, and I think defensively what stood out to me is they were great on ball, active hands. And then I love that adjustment now. Coach Few's done that a lot this year. I think years past, maybe they should have done it more, is when they go that 3/4 court press. And Anton's been extremely active. And now Hunter Salas, you put him at the top.
Yeah.
That's an interesting look, because I think his instincts defensively for a freshman are as good as I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, no, I think Coach Few's done a good job of mixing that. It's called 30. Everybody knows it, but it's the 1-2-2. And you set it up after, usually free throw makes, and you do it in situations, especially if a secondary ball handler comes in or a secondary point guard. And it's not like you're going, like a college press to me is you're trying to turn them over, but you're not trying to gamble to give up baskets, so you kind of soft press and you can maybe eat 8 seconds off the shot clock as well and make teams to play a little bit faster because they know they can't play as fast against Gonzaga. But I think, like you said, putting a guy like Hunter, Anton's been up there as well, but just some of that active wing, to get your hands, because when we ran it, we used to have Earl Knight at that spot and it was perfect for him. Similar situation like Hunter, just super athletic, and you force a guy to a side and make him throw that, arcing pass back and forth. You kind of give that up and try to get a trap across half court.
Well, that's one of the interesting things I think it's like a nuisance press.
Yes.
Just take 8 seconds off and try to guide the ball into a non-decision maker's hands. And I think they did that twice to, Fisher of Pepperdine, where he caught it, at the 3-point line with 16 seconds left, and he thinks it's a good shot or a good attack, and he goes. And that's a lot of times what you're trying to do is just get them out of sorts offensively.
Yeah.
How would you attack that as an offensive player?
I think, for a unit, offensively, I think you're going to have to make 1 or 2 ball reversals, and then you have to be, I guess the word is strong enough to be able to, after that ball reversal, is try to split a trap or take away that angle, because they try to angle you into that, here's half court, they right across half court and trap you there. So I think ball fakes and then 1 or 2 swings is kind of how you have to beat it. And you kind of have to just be, mentally tough and strong with the basketball. I know it sounds oversimplified, but you put a guy in the middle, you put 2 guards back, you always have your 40-foot cross-court skip pass, but they try to bait you into that too. If they put an athlete on the backside. So it's always interesting to, X and O against that type of thing. But I think you put a guy in the middle, and then after you get one or two ball swings, I mean, your point guard, you understand this, you just kind of have to go because the defense has shifted to the other side and try to beat it. But what it does, like you mentioned, with the Fisher kid from Pepperdine, it forces you, it baits you into be like, oh, we broke the press.
Yeah.
18-footer. We haven't ran anything. This is a good shot because I'm open. And a lot of times it's not. You get long rebounds you can run on the other end.
What's your thoughts on the difference of the NBA versus the college game in regards to, like, say that press, you break it, there's 15 seconds on the clock. In the college game, everybody freaks out like we don't have enough time to get into a set. Or in the NBA, it's like you might run a set with 9 seconds on the clock because you know where you're going to get to, and guys can get to their spots and get something off in a short amount of time. What's the difference that you look there?
Well, I think in some of the college programs or philosophies, they're a little more rigid, obviously, and then the skill level is not there. So coaches do try to control their team from taking shots, where in the NBA, you know how it is. Sometimes, like, if the shot presents itself at 18 or at 11, what's the difference? Yeah. Right. It's the best. If that's the best shot you're going to get, might as well take it. So I think in college a little bit, you can bait teams into doing that where the guys aren't as skilled, obviously, and that's not a knock, but they're still good Division I basketball players. But there's some guys that can't shoot from here to the wall, right? And we watch them all the time, and they leave them open for a reason, and they bait them into taking that, or they bait them into ball screen stuff where it's a pick and dive guy, and you're like, go ahead and throw it, and we'll just wall up at the rim and see if he can finish. And usually they don't. League, that's not the case as well. So I think it's a good mix, but we're spoiled with Gonzaga. They're always so skilled for the most part. I mean, when's the last non-skilled basketball player at Gonzaga that played meaningful minutes? I mean, it's hard to think of. It's over a decade.
It might take us the rest of this recording of the podcast to kind of go through that.
Like,
that
it's almost a decade of like thinking of a guy that's like completely just a role player, screener, kick it out if you get it. Like, usually our guys can at least function, right?
That's where this fan base is so spoiled. And Coach Few and his staff do such a good job of navigating the evaluation and the recruiting to, like, is he really going to fit or are they not? Because you can't just take a guy because of the athleticism. He has to have the complete package to be successful at Gonzaga.
Yeah, you got to be skilled. Few always like skilled players, and I agree with that philosophy. 9 times out of 10, skill is going to win. Obviously, you get in situations where you want to play bully ball a little bit. Like, I'm just going to reference the Baylor game. They had some guys that weren't very skilled, but they could go out and hit. But as a core philosophy for your program and the success that we've had year in and year out, you take skill every single time.
Well, how about that? You look at the AP just came out, Baylor and Gonzaga. Top 2 again.
Right back
it's unbelievable. Yeah. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that would be a heck of a crash, direction to crash into them in the NCAA tournament again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
2 completely different backcourts, and that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure that everybody in that locker room and staff-wise especially wants the replay of that game.
Yeah. Back to the Pepperdine game, 117-83. I know we focus on GU, but I was impressed at least with the potential of Pepperdine's freshmen, Maxwell Lewis, 6'7" wing, Houston Millette, and then the Mitchell junior point guard.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on them after seeing them?
I liked Lewis. I thought he was super athletic, long. He got out in transition a couple of times on, just jump out strips and stuff like that. Looks like he didn't shoot it great, but it looked good coming off his hand. I was reading somewhere, I think he was, he was one of those kids that left high school early and to try to train. Yeah. And so you could see where that, his frame and, like I said, the athleticism is there. So he's definitely got potential, but it's also one of those deals where you're like, you got to, start stringing together games and stuff like that. But he's a young kid. And so, yeah, they always, Coach Romar can recruit.
Yeah.
That's never a problem with their crew. You know what I mean? He always can get talented players. Colby Ross was one of the best West Coast Conference guards of all time, if we're really being honest, right? Overall. And then the 2 Edwards brothers the last couple of years were good. So he's always had talent. It's just if he can put it together, I guess, as a unit. I'm not knocking him as a coach. I'm just
Sure.
saying, like they always have talent.
Yeah, they do always have talent. They also have some good coaches as
Ken Bone.
assistants. I was just going to ask you, Ken Bone, he's there. He spent time at UW with him. He was the head coach at Washington State. When you spent time as a grad assistant with you, was Ken Bone there?
Yeah, Ken was here. He's awesome X and O guys. I mean, that's, I think, why Lorenzo brought him in, is to kind of give him the X and O stuff. But he helped us with, like, I think he was here the year that we had Drew Barham coming off the bench. So we were really small, and we kind of did a lot of the pick and roll stuff with a dive and a shooter to hold teams to, not help on the backside. It was kind of Ken helping Coach Few, kind of a new philosophy for Coach Few. You know what I mean?
Well, because he can be, that's the great thing about Coach Few, is he can be stuck in his ways sometimes with his rotations.
Yeah.
But he is open to trying new things.
Absolutely.
If it makes sense, because that's when I look at like the ball screen continuity. That's where he's really improved. And now the spacing and the secondary actions is just mind boggling how much space is on the floor.
Yeah, no, they've done a good job of, like I said, pick and dive situations where you rotate a shooter to the backside. So that guy guarding the shooter has to make a choice whether tag the roller or not. And then, the secondary actions off of that read of whatever the defense, how they present themselves, is light years to what we used to do. Is a lot different. We were kind of more, I'm sure you guys were a little more stagnant and flex. And
we did ran a lot of flex. And then I remember watching your group. I mean, early in your career, you had Blake, who was a great ball handler, passer, all that. But I mean, they were running you off single doubles, and I don't think they ran loop actions, but diamond actions where you could come out either direction. And then the sole focus is just get a hit on your guy and then get you to check your shoulder coming off the screen. Do I have a catch and shoot, or do I have a catch and go? And now it's like, you look at it as like, you come off a dribble handoff and you're like, I got the roll, I got the replace, I got the skip, I got the
swivel, and hit the post. And that, it's fun to watch. And it's one of the reasons we've been so successful offensively last decade.
Andrew Nemhart put on a passing clinic in that first half. You played with two really good point guards in Blake and Derek Ravio. Is there another point guard that you would have wanted to play with because they could just find guys?
At Gonzaga?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, John.
That's the easy one. Yeah.
I mean, Perk, obviously, we got to throw Perk in there. I mean, he made good decisions off the ball screen actions and stuff like that. But again, those eras were so different. Like, you were a score first point guard, right? So, like, and I was like, throw me the ball type of player. So, like,
we would have worked, but it would have been like, my turn.
Yeah, just seeing point guards now, they're trying to hit the dive and they're trying to hit the backside. So I guess any of them really. I mean, who's like a really good passer now that's funny is like Jeremy Pargo. Just watch him play professionally now. Yeah. It's like, oh, where was this when you were at Gonzaga? And he always laughs because he's like, well, I became a man and a pro and I figured it out. You know what I mean? But like, there's always some good point guards at Gonzaga, but just throw me the ball and get out of my way.
I love it. Throw me the ball. I want to talk about the Gonzaga freshman in a second, but you mentioned Jeremy Pargo. He is a and I guess you could put Kevin Pangos in that mix right now, where they were really good.
Forgot about.
Well, yeah, but they were really good college players. Just couldn't quite find their footing in the NBA right off the bat. They go have tremendous European careers. Jeremy had a little bit of time in the NBA. Pangos is now. Yeah. What allowed those guys to make it back to the NBA after going to Europe?
That's a good question. I think Jeremy's just kind of figured out how to play the point guard position, and especially in European basketball. If you can't do the proper reads, guy goes under, you got to be able to shoot it because the lane's clogged. I mean, you understand that. And then, if you don't make the right, they've played pick and roll longer at a younger age, if that makes sense. So everybody kind of understands the space of the floor movements in European basketball. So if you can't do that, it's not going to work out. Well, the NBA has morphed into that, and it's better basketball. It's more open and more fluid. So I think it was just a self-preservation thing for both of those guys. They're obviously good players, but they realized, like, okay, if I can do these things off of these certain reads, it's going to turn into dollars for me. It's going to give me an opportunity in the NBA, and it's worked out for both of them.
Yeah. I call it manipulating pick and rolls.
Mhm.
Like, you're not going to shoot it because of whatever the read defensively is happening, but you just get the guy to string it out 2 more feet, 3 more feet. So you have spacing or an angle to make the right play.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, and Pangos didn't get in, hasn't played much this year, but to the games he's played, I think he's played well.
Yeah.
So back to the freshmen. We talked about Pepperdine's nucleus of young guys. Chet Holmgren. I mean, he's going to be a top 3 pick. There's strengths and weaknesses to NBA evaluators' eyes and for him.
Yeah.
But Hunter Salas and Nolan Hickman are, I think, starting to get it. What do you see?
Yeah, I think Nolan is a terrific scorer. You can kind of see he has those tendencies to, take floaters and shoot step backs that you could tell like in high school. Obviously, that's kind of his game. Obviously he can pass off the screen and roll, but like I think he's more of a score first point guard. So I think as time goes on, he'll have that opportunity to just score more. I hope he will.
I hope he stays.
Yeah, he gets that opportunity because he's got the talent, and I think he has enough hop around the rim for the next level. I mean, and he's still young, so we're not saying, he's going to be NBA evaluated after this season, but like he's probably thinking after this next one, sophomore year, then it's time to start thinking in that context. So I really like his game. Honestly, I really do. I've liked it from the start. Hunter's gotten better this season. You can see the athletic ability, the wingspan, the ability to slash. Does he have to work on his jumper? Absolutely. That's something that I'm sure him and his camp would tell everybody, that would ask him. So that's something that will work over time if he puts in the reps, and he'll get an opportunity to take those type of shots. But I think, like you said, he's starting to get it. He's starting to string together 8 to 13 point type nights where you're not playing him more than 20 minutes. That's a beautiful thing to have off the bench.
Yeah.
So I think if he can just improve his jump shot, the game will open up a lot for him. But I think like he's starting to do the ghost cut like Joel used to do last year. It's very valuable, especially with a double team center like Drew. Okay. So you got to have that on the weak side. So to catch and be able to finish. He gives you like bursts of athleticism that, especially in the West Coast Conference, other teams don't see on the perimeter. You know what I mean? And then, he can go get garbage points. Now the next step is, hey bud, we love you, but now you got to shoot 250, 500 jumpers a day. Yeah. And if you can do that, and it doesn't have to be mechanically pretty, can you get it off? That's all that matters.
Mechanically, it's gotten better though. Since high school here, clips I saw.
Now it's up here, and it's like, okay, now at least that's a good sign, obviously, because it's cognizant of like, hey man, no matter how good I was in high school or how easy it was to get to the rim, like at this level, I can still get the rim, but I gotta have to make a jump shot or people are gonna play 5 feet off of me. So to go over the freshmen, especially those 2 guys, I totally agree with you. I think they're starting to get it. Nolan has had more opportunities early to score, and I've shown that in previous games, but I think Hunter now is starting to fill in a role of like, hey, I can still be a slasher, be an athletic guy, play as hard as I can for 5-minute stretches. If I play well, I stay out there. If I don't, I'm still getting the same minutes as I was before. So
you talked about the Joel Ayayi cuts, and I'm sure the staff has shown Hunter plenty of film on him cutting. For you playing off the ball, what's your determining factors on when to cut, when not to cut, when to space?
Well, I think, a lot of times if you're playing with a double team center, on the strong side, I was always told if you cut through, you wait at the rim for a second. So if they go back to double team, they can't just double from the strong side. If they don't, then you hold and say, okay, if they do double team from the strong side, say you're on the strong side, you made the post entry, then it's an easy kick out, wide open shot. I always taught, look how your defender, if he's, turns his head and his eyes go away from you go the opposite way, so like back cut or cut in front. Easier said than done in certain offenses, because sometimes even if the guys turn that way, if he's a smart defender, he knows you can't cut right on top of Drew Timmy going to work. So like he can kind of cheat that. But at the, like in high school and stuff, I was always told, okay, if somebody gets it inside and let's say my defender's here and I'm behind and his eyes are this way, I just cut right behind him and make him at least turn his hips completely. Then I got him. And then the next time you can set up come off a shot or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I love breaking down the game like that with people who know what they're talking about, because you just talked about hips.
Yeah.
And as a point guard, I'm bringing the ball down in transition. I call it probing in transition. My whole goal would be to get the guy that's guarding me to turn their hips.
Yep.
If I can get him turned, I can go back. I can get him kind of swiveling and go wherever I want on the court.
Yeah.
I'll make that comment, and this kind of is a jab at Heister a little bit, but you got to have those.
Yeah.
The whole thing is defensively, if their hips go one direction, they can't get back in front of you going the other way.
Yeah.
And it's that constant read and react that you have to be able to be the one that is in charge of the action to be able to take advantage of it. And I love how you put that about making the cut to get him to twist.
So get him to twist. And then, a lot of times if you run split action off a post entry, and then that's when you get your guy to come down, and then you can come off like a split screen or something like that. So yeah, there's always ways to do it. And then a lot of times, like, it's like soccer, I guess the soccer analogy is you cut knowing that you're not going to get the ball, but you just flatten the defense.
It's an unselfish cut.
It's an unselfish cut, and you got to do it. It's got to look the same. It's just like a wide receiver running routes when he knows the ball's going to get handed off, but every time he goes off his break, it's the same thing. Sometimes you cut from the backside just to take away a defender, and then your teammate might be posting up, or it might allow him to have an open side where he can rip and go. There's no help.
You know who the best I've ever seen at that is, and people are going to probably be like, but he's one of the greatest players ever, Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, he cuts.
Because he'll know he's not getting it because of where the defense is, but he'll cut the heck out of there so hard that he'll take two defenders and create something open for someone else.
Yep, it's so true. He's a great screener as well. But if you can cut and set screens, you're going to allow yourself to get open. I preach that all the time to the kids I coach. Yeah. It's hard to do. It's unselfish. It's an unselfish thing. And sometimes it's frustrating if you cut and don't get the basketball. Naturally it's like, well, I'm going to go 75% on this cut. But if you can, train yourself or the kids you're coaching to do it, it just opens up, avenues for ball reversals where, again, defense is helping, and then they're against a closeout instead of already set.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Well, Adam, we're going to wrap this episode up with one last question. I'm wearing a Hickory shirt from Jimmy Chitwood. You're wearing Outcast.
Yeah.
Big Boy or Andre 3000? Which one we got?
I think Andre is a better rapper, but they're both gods. I've seen Big Boy in concert. Actually, it was good in San Diego. It was fun. Good times. I wish they'd come back and do a tour, but Andre doesn't do shows anymore.
I remember that first CD that came out. It was a CD. Kids might listen to this now. Like, what's a CD?
No.
Yeah, they had a couple great albums.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did you watch Hoosiers all the time?
Yeah.
With your dad as a coach, I'm sure you had to.
Yeah, we watched it a couple times, but I don't have the facade or the love of it as some people would expect. There's other, I think like Blue Chips is a better basketball movie. Really? Yeah, with Nick Nolte and like Shaq and Penny, and it was kind
of. Coach Few didn't pay you any money under the table to come to GU though.
No, but it's just it was just more realistic, I guess, in that sense. But Hoosiers are not terrible, but
So what is your favorite sports movie?
Sports movie? I don't know. That's a tough one. Probably like Blue Chips is good. The Program's good. Remember the old Program? I think I've seen football one. Yeah, the old football one. There's a lot of what's the one? Remember the Titans is one. That's a good one. Yeah, one that makes you feel good about yourself and stuff like that.
So I know you play poker. So if we throw poker into a sports movie theme, I'm going Rounders.
Yeah, Rounders, is good because there's a couple like legendary scenes. As poker players, there's scenes on there that drive you nuts though, like when they're playing that big game and they're dealing themselves. Yeah. Like that would never happen in a million years. Even if you're playing with your friends, we're not dealing. So there's going to be a designated dealer. The Rounders is good. I like Maverick, even though it's kind of a poker movie, but it's funny just because it's kind of cheesy Western, with Mel Gibson, and he gets a royal flush, and the other guy has a straight flush, and the other guy has quads, and you're just like, all right, but there's some good poker movies, I guess.
Awesome. Well, for Gonzaga Nation SI, Adam Morrison, Dan Dickau. We'll be back with more this week. Check us out online on all the major social media platforms.